What's that? Yeah, she might. Yeah.
Good evening. It is 5:30, so we're going to call the regular meeting to order. I'd like to invite people to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Christine, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Councilmember Berg.
Here.
Councilmember Dalby.
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from special meeting number 2 on January 15th, 2021, and regular meeting number 3 on January 19th, 2021, as presented. Approve the purchase of 5 2021 Ford Utility Police Interceptor utility vehicles from Stivers Ford of Waukee, Iowa, in the amount of $174,890, and the purchase of the police equipment necessary for basic police functions in the amount of $61,625 from Raycom Corporation for the Ottumwa Police Department. Approve the purchase of a large color format printer for the engineering department in the amount of $10,500 from Infomax. Approve payment to Emergency Apparatus Maintenance Incorporated in the amount of $5,614.79 for repairs to Fire Department Vehicle Number 317. Resolution Number 22, 2021, authorizing the destruction of certain records according to the Code of Iowa 2015 as amended and the Iowa Municipal Records Retention Manual. Beer and/or liquor applications for Coffee Foe 77 at 1111 Quincy Avenue, number 109, Albia Road BP at 1340 Albia Road, North Court BP at 1301 North Court, Pennsylvania and Jefferson BP at 1147 North Jefferson, West 2nd and McPherson BP at 1049 West 2nd Street, all applications pending final inspections.
Move the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Thank you.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
I'll need approval for, or motion for the approval of tonight's agenda.
Move the approval of the agenda.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Item D on our agenda is the administrator's report to the council. So Phil, we'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Honorable Mayor. The first item on here is a video of snow plowing. We're actually going to combine that with the report, department report, informational update on snow budget. So we'll combine those together at that time. The second thing on here is just giving council a heads up that my 1-year anniversary is coming up, which along with that comes the employee performance review. The mayor has copies, either paper or if you handed those out. If you prefer to do that digitally, I can email that as well, but otherwise just fill that out. And if you have any questions, you can ask myself or the mayor. And that will be then scheduled for next meeting on the 16th. Then the one thing that's not on the agenda that I just wanted to give a heads up to the general public, council, I'll be requesting, I'd received information about elections and if we wanted to, as a community, maintain our current system of primary and then a general election when we elect our representatives, council and mayor. And so what I'm looking to do is have March 2nd be set as an opportunity for the public to weigh in on that and have a public hearing. We'll do that officially with the notification at the next council meeting on the 16th, and then look at March 2nd as an opportunity or first opportunity for the public to weigh in on how we want to elect our representatives. primary general is one option. A general election with whoever gets the plurality of the votes would be a second option. And the third option is to have a general. And if nobody receives a majority or 50% plus one, you'd have a runoff. We saw this similar to the Georgia State Senate races runoffs recently. So those are three options that would be before the city, and we'll allow that opportunity for the public to weigh in on that.
Very good. So Larry, are you going to start the snow plowing
Not yet.
review, or is that?
F2.
It's a couple items down, I think.
Mine's F2. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to address the council tonight? Okay. All right, then let's go to F.
Review and accept the certified local government annual report for 2020 as submitted by the Ottumwa Historic Preservation Commission. Recommendation: authorize the mayor to sign the annual report and submit to the State Historic Preservation Office.
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Zach, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. The City of Ottumwa has had a Historic Preservation Commission since 1989, and we've been an early member in the Certified Local Government Program that the Department of the Interior runs and that the State Historic Preservation Office administers, which gives preference in certain grant opportunities for historic preservation to participating communities. There are a few requirements for that program. One is that we have a historic preservation, and that the members of that our preservation commission, that the members of that commission do at least some kind of annual training, and to certify that we do meet those requirements, and also to provide updated information to the state regarding our commission and our activities. We provide an annual report, and that's the report that's been attached. We also like to use this opportunity as an opportunity for the commission chair to give a presentation to the council to sort of go over what's been happening this year with the commission. And so to do that tonight, Dennis Wilhoit is here, and I'll turn over to him.
Thank you. Good evening, Dennis.
Good evening. And I am Dennis Wilhoit, and I'm the Chair of the Historic Preservation. And on behalf of the other commission members, Kara Galloway, Mary Stewart, John Olinger, and Rick Wotan, thank you for your time here tonight. This is fun to come and offer you a brief oversight of what's happening and what's in your report in front of you. As Zach said, the report documents the Historic Preservation Commission's preservation work and demonstrates that the commission has fulfilled the requirements for the CLG program to remain in good standing. As I began last year, I will also begin this year and extend my thanks from the commission to our staff liaison, Zach. Zach's role in supporting the commission's work, including the nuts and bolts of this report that you have and assisting us in our preservation work, is heartily acknowledged and very much appreciated. The commission continued to meet monthly on the fourth Wednesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. As we began doing last year, we held neighborhood meetings in October with the residents of our 4 historic residential districts to update them on the work that we do and the developments in their neighborhood. And probably the most noticeable development in our 4 residential neighborhoods, but also our other 3 historic districts on the registry, was the installation of historic district signage. This project was about a year in length, fully funded by the Historic Preservation Commission from proceeds earned in previous years' fundraising events. We want to thank Bradley Grief for his assistance in determining the sign placement. Bradley, of course, is at the Area 15 Regional Planning Office, and he helped us determine sign placement. And also extend our thanks to Larry Seals and his department for the generous cooperation in placing and installing the signage. And I know that we've had really good feedback from that visible sign of historic preservation and concern for our preservation. The commission also launched a new newsletter, the Ottumwa Preservationist. We plan to make this a quarterly feature, and note that our next issue will soon be forthcoming, available both electronically and in paper form. The commission also launched its new website with much assistance from Zach getting that done. The website hosts information about historic assets, Also, a copy of the Ottumwa Preservationist and news about upcoming events. In the COVID-19 world that we've been in, the Commission celebrated Historic Preservation Month distantly in May with an editorial in the Ottumwa Courier about the history and the benefits of historic preservation within our community. During the same time, we were also a catalyst in reinvigorating the Friends of Historic Preservation here in Ottumwa, a nonprofit dedicated to maintaining and developing our historic districts. And we look forward to future conversations with that group. We continue to collaborate with Main Street Ottumwa, develop a partnership with the League of Women Voters and the Wapello County Historical Society and Museum as well. Commission members also participated virtually in the Iowa Preservation Summit in June as part of their required continuing education in order to remain in good standing. It is also noteworthy that Zach participated in that summit as well, and he also participated in a second continuing education opportunity provided by the National Historic Trust. And that, again, emphasized the appreciation of the staff liaison taking an active and interested role in historic preservation. The Commission had planned to celebrate the holidays by highlighting our historic residential districts with luminaries. After high winds and then a snow and ice storm, we are reinventing that luminary project, and we'll hold a similar event in May during Historic Preservation Month and beautiful weather. We are also in the process of vetting potential consultants for development of a strategic plan for historic preservation, which will then become part of the city's comprehensive plan. We will be seeking grant support to cover this expense. And this is one of our major focuses of these next several weeks as that grant opportunity presents itself. And speaking of money, item 15 in the annual report concerns budgeting provided by the city. And as last year, I mentioned this, the city provides no annual operating budget for the commission. As you can see on that item number 15, the state recommends that the local government provide the commission a budget with a minimum of $750. I would ask that the city administrator and finance director consider this, sorry, I lost my place, give this recommendation some serious consideration during their priority budgeting process. Projects like the luminaries or hospitality at our neighborhood meetings cost money. We have a small reserve from our past fundraising efforts, but more regularly, members of the commission cover these miscellaneous expenses out of their own pockets. Consideration would be greatly appreciated. In closing, I will repeat myself from previous messages that I've had the privilege to share with you. The Historic Preservation Commission believes that the wider the circle, the more ideas heard about historic preservation, and the furtherance of stakeholder conversations are at the very heart of a successful community. Historic preservation is one of the cornerstones of community revitalization, and we are your cheerleaders for preservation, restoration, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of our historic resources here in Ottumwa. We are proud of our work as recorded in the report in front of you, and we look forward to working vigorously with our partners in historic and economic development of our city. And thank you very much.
Any questions for Dennis? Thank you, Dennis. Very
You're welcome.
complete report, and that's a very complete summary that Zach put together too. Any final comments, Zach?
Not other than that, just the staff recommendation is that you would accept and review the report and authorize the mayor to sign it.
Hearing no questions, we'll take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you both.
Informational update on the snow budget, department report on snow budget.
Okay, Larry, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Some of this information we've already given you in short form. We had a couple videos that we have incorporated into this PowerPoint. I do want to just cover that. A couple of the events has created numerous calls in. So each year we try to remind our citizens that there is a process. There is kind of a process to our madness, and maybe just the scope of the work that we have. Again, I know we've mentioned this briefly, but I think later on you'll appreciate some of the information we put together. And I'll just hit the highlights because you haven't had this. The first slide kind of just covers the number of lane miles that we have in town. Again, that's about 320. I want to point out that that's 7 plow routes, 1 downtown truck in order to get through the entire city. And then again, we plow the streets when we receive or anticipated to receive about 3 inches of snow or an icing event. We plow alleys if we receive 6 inches or more. And of course, they come as the last tier of what we hit. We do pre-treat collector and arterial streets in the hills with the salt brine prior to the winter event if we have enough warning and enough manpower to get to it. We do keep a close eye on the National Weather Service. My guys do a fantastic job working with that service, predicting what we will have. The snow emergency ordinance may be placed in effect if the National Weather Service predicts a major weather event. We're not always right. We get criticized. Sometimes we try to get ahead of it, and that allows the citizens to have an opportunity to take the vehicles off of the street. If we declare that at 2 o'clock in the morning, most people are in bed, so the cars are going to stay there. So we try to anticipate if we think it's coming in at 2, maybe we place it at 6 or 7 in the evening. That does offer the opportunity to get them off of those emergency routes. Again, I think my guys do a very good job of trying to predict that. A lot of times we do hit it right. When in effect, no parking is allowed on any of the designated as a snow route. We do have snow route signs up. They are listed in the ordinance, in the code, and then again marked with the sign. Alternate on street parking on residential streets. On even days, you may park on the even side of the street. On odd days, you may park on the odd side of the street. And again, that allows us to come through. That again requires us to cover all the streets twice. We do have, for the most part, people comply with that. The ones that do not, I know we get a lot of calls that we didn't hit their street or we only did 1 lane. A lot of times that's the narrow street. People parked, they didn't move. We went through a second time. Sometimes it takes a while to get back on those cases. The next slide just kind of covers that our first priority is the collector and arterial streets. That'd be like the Quincy's, for example, the Pennsylvanias. And again, a lot of these streets require multiple passes because of their width. If the snow is blowing, sometimes we have to come back and hit up again before shift change. Plows, we plow alleys for medical conditions. That's in the beginning or late fall. My public works superintendent will actually verify these people. We have people that have dialysis or cancer, critical appointments that they have to meet. We do hit those. The guys on the routes will hit those as they're doing their routes. Sometimes early morning, if we know it's 6 in the morning, they might break off and go get those so they can make those type of appointments because they're scheduled out so far in advance and very limited service. So we're pretty thoughtful on those. City parking lots, it really depends on the snow event and the staff needs. If it's continuing and it's accumulating, crews will pull off somewhere around 4 a.m. to begin the work on the city parking lots. That's one of the things. Bridgeview they coordinate quite well with Bridgeview. If they have an event, that's one of the first parking lots we hit. Timing wise, of course, depending on the day and the event. And then number 2, we go to the residential streets. And that's again, once all the arterial streets have been addressed, crews begin plowing the less traveled side streets. Third is the alleys, and that's only if they're 6 inches or more. One of the things we've done is we switched to our smaller trucks, which are the 550 series with a front V. The large truck, if the alleys are not froze, tears them up. So we found it to be more productive with the smaller trucks. 4 is snow pickup. If we get an accumulation of 6 inches or more, then we will go down and start picking up snow in the central business district. Again, this is to allow access and to try to keep the core open. One of the things we wanted to cover was just briefly cover snow shifts, expenses, and how it's budgeted. During the weather event, once we call it, the crews work a 12-hour shift. These shifts are worked until the plowing or snow pickup has been completed. As an example, first night shift is approximately 14.5, includes labor, equipment, and material. Once they go into a second night, you lose some of the overtime because the first night's all overtime. It's about 12.5, and again, that's labor, equipment, and material. We look at 10 years average is kind of how we come up with the budget. It's $400,000. To date, we've spent $230,000 on the events that have occurred. And we wanted to compare, I mean, on the January 1st event, we had approximately 5 inches of snow followed by rain, and the crews worked a total of 7 days plowing, snow pickup. Total expense was about $105,000. We had a very similar event on the 25th. It was 5 inches. We did not have the rain that followed. Took 4 days, about $65,000 to get through the city. Just people don't understand the difference. I know that council has heard a lot of this. Here's the part that I wanted to make sure that we got to you. I'd ask our drone pilot to do a video. A lot of people, and this year, a lot of complaints because of the slush. This particular day, it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's a lot of snow. It was 38 degrees, slushy on top. I think what they don't understand is these are just gravity-mounted plows, meaning the weight of the plow actually creates all the downforce. I think you can see they are shoving it back to the curb, so we do gain that. But as that truck goes by and it's fully loaded, you'll see that they do not take it down to the concrete. This is what people don't understand. So there we got a fully loaded heavy truck, and it still doesn't take it down. So people have to understand to be patient. Once you have an event like this that bonds and sticks to the pavement, it's very difficult. And there's no real practical way for us to get through and remove all of it. This is a little bit longer. You'll see a second pass that turns around. But I think if people are watching at home, they can understand. We do go down the road. No, our blade is not up. It does not get under the ice. It does knock the top of the slush off. It does pull some of it off, but a lot of times it just fills the ruts and it refreezes that night. And again, if we get enough warm days in a row, we do get underneath that ice and it starts popping up. Just give you a minute to enjoy the video. But that's with the full weight of the blade, and you can see it's not getting under, rolling that up. They are set up right. They got good edges on them. The other thing that we had is questions now that we have 3 blocks of streetscape. How can we clean it up? We had some people slip and falls. The planter boxes and some of the decorative features that look so nice, they do add to our maintenance. One of the things our crew come up with was, let's put a poly blade on our ditching bucket and let's go down. Now we can get between planters and do some limited, pulling it into the street, get it out to where the skid loaders can get a hold of it and get it picked up. And that's about the best we're going to be able to do. Before all of the decorative planters and the trees and stuff, we were able to get on the main business. We'd get our skid loader, we'd go right up to the building face or close to it, and we'd back drag into the street, and then we could pick it up. This is just an added, that's how much snow we picked up just in the downtown. So you can see how much accumulates just in our business district and how much material they have to handle. And we're assessing a few other things. Can we get in? Of course, we're limited. We don't want to put a lot of salt in the downtown because of the plantings. Everything in the streetscape project actually is designed to run off into our basins. We don't want to put a lot of salt into that soil. That is what they call engineered soil, where you have a blend of sand and soil just to help promote the plant growth. That's one of the things we wanted to get out to the public. It's a little bit lengthy, but I think it's important to show them that the crews are out working. They do work hard. And I guess I'll pass these out later, but we listed, if you want to do the last slide, our real common complaints that we hear every time. I don't think I'll read through all of them, but we get kind of the same response. I've already kind of addressed it. We do hit all the streets in time. And a lot of times on some of the residentials, it is the parking cars that make it to where we have to go back multiple times, which adds a lot to our expense. So we'd appreciate that all the citizens be mindful of the rotation on parking and do follow the odds and evens, and it really saves the city a lot of money. I'll entertain any questions if you have them. I know you guys have heard that, but I thought the
Larry,
videos was good.
How many, can you remind the public what our fleet size is?
We have 7 big trucks that we use and 1 small one. We do have, we have to have a loader operator, and then we do switch when we go downtown.
Okay. So roughly, each one of those trucks is going to be responsible for it, just dividing it out evenly, about 40 lane miles per truck.
Right. And that exactly. And then again, a lot of the routes we hit multiple times. A lot of times it's not just driving down the streets. A lot of times they have to stop. What takes time is backing up and pushing returns out of the way. I know some of the routes, our superintendent is working on balancing some of the routes. I know we have one as high as I think 67. He's going to look at it. Can we balance that a little bit better?
Okay. I guess my point in that is for the public just to be mindful of the fact that not only do we have the issue of the snow event itself waiting for people to get off the streets, but there's a lot of miles to cover for each one of these trucks.
And the other thing is, if the snow is blowing, a lot of times we roll back and we hit the same on our emergency routes multiple times. And that's the ambulance routes, things like that. If it's blowing hard, they might get hit 3 times in one night.
Thank you.
Hey, Larry, I know someone had asked me with the odds and evens on the odd street side versus the even side rotating, if it's a no parking on the other side, that works. Does that work when trying to alternate odds and evens?
My understanding was go ahead and park on the other side. They're not going to ticket you during a snow emergency.
That's one topic I think we need to get back out on our social media is that confusion. Reiterate.
And we could do that. We talked about trying to get this out on our webpage. We're trying to be a little more proactive, and maybe we'll just add a sheet and verify and clarify that and make sure and get it pushed out to the public.
Yeah, I know that was something someone asked me, and I was 95% sure, but I didn't want to give someone a ticket either. So.
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
And I know there's other ones that we've got some locations in town that are dedicated right away, but they were never streets. But that we have several of them where we allow people to make a driveway out of them. I mean, that's what it's there for, but we're not going to maintain it. I know a lot of people would like for us to back up to their front porch and snowplow, and we're not going to do it when it's been designated as a private drive. Several reasons. If we tear it up, then we're in there in the spring, and a time issue.
Thank you.
Larry, I had family visit today, and one of the things they noted that we appeared to have more snow than their community, but they were very complimentary of your people and our streets as opposed to their community, and they don't usually give us credit. So credit to you guys that they thought our streets were very good.
We got a lot of really good operators. They're well seasoned, and that makes it a lot easier for myself and like Chad, for instance, that they do have that experience behind them.
Any other comments?
Larry, I got a quick question. On the January 1st event that we had with that combination of precipitation, obviously when you have, freezing rain, snow, and then another blast of freezing on top, you say that bonds to the asphalt or concrete or whatever. Is that just an Ottumwa thing? I mean, you hear people say, well, I went to, Oskaloosa and their streets were perfectly clear. If Oskaloosa had the same snow event we had in the same order, would their plows be able to do it any better than ours?
No, it would respond very similar. I'm not sure if they do more pre-treatment or not. I mean, one of the things we got ahead of this event, and there's trade-offs on that also from an expense standpoint. I mean, that's one thing the ordinance is set up. We try to balance and we try to follow that. You have to remember, if we overrun or use the entire snow budget, then it's gone. Where that money is not going to be used for road repair. Let's say that we end up and we are very fortunate with winter events and we only use 300. That money rolls right back into the road use fund and is used for either material, labor, or other street projects, and extends, the brick and mortar type projects. So we're very conscious. We don't want to go out and just, scrape and spend that money. We try to get a service level. It's not uncommon, or you shouldn't expect clear concrete. If you have smoother packed snow, that's absolutely fine. Adjust your driving to those conditions.
Yeah, and I always found out that, it's a pain when the streets are like that and it's not easy to drive on them. But if you just simply slow down, that makes a big difference.
That's the key. Slow down for the weathering conditions.
Yeah. And second question, as far as our salt storage and sand storage, going over the budget, I heard a lot of comments. Oh, we ran out of salt or sand, or we're getting close, or what? So what happens if we do use it up? Have we ever used it up? And what would we do in an emergency where we'd have to acquire more?
We've come close, but we have a contract, and when we see that we're down 300 or 400 ton, we'll order that. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 weeks, and it's not uncommon for us to pull part of our contracted amount in throughout the year or through the season, and replenish our building. I mean, I can remember one time we were getting pretty low.
Mm-hmm. I remember it too. Well, thank you. You guys do a great job as always. And it's easy when you're involved with city operations all the time to see exactly how it works, but to explain it to the public, takes you and the great presentation for that too. They do a great job. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you very much, Larry. I think that the video is a good way to show the public what we're trying to accomplish. So thanks for that. Okay, Chris.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving fiscal year 22 maximum property tax dollars.
Public hearing. So Kayla, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. The Iowa law now requires the City Council to hold a public hearing on the proposed maximum property tax dollars before adopting the city budget. The rate of 18.755 is the maximum levy for affected property taxes for the city of Ottumwa. This rate does not include the levies for debt service, the support of the public library, or any of the three Schmids that we have. Or for the property tax levies, the max would total at $23.15. We do hope that this rate will be lower when we're certifying the budget. Currently, right now, as we're working through the budget process, our goal that we will certify with our annual budget will be $22.25, which is 20 cents lower than what our current year property tax rate is. I will have more details for you guys with my presentation on the budget, and I'll go over each levy at that point. So if you guys have any questions during that time, we can go over each levy and the dollar amount after we have more information regarding a couple renewals that we have out. If you guys have any questions, or I guess we have to.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, now is the time to step to the microphone. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 23, 2021, approving the maximum property tax dollars for fiscal year 2022. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 23, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, get that to Mark. Okay, any questions for Kayla? Any other comments? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Kayla, the one comment I'd make is really for the public, it would have been nice if the legislature would have said this was a required reporting levy, not the maximum levy. That kind of gives people the wrong impression.
Right.
I think you did a good job of explaining that, but editorial comment. Thank you.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Woodland Avenue reconstruction project.
This also is a public hearing. Larry, you have the floor.
This project consists of East Woodland Avenue reconstruction from Court Street to approximately 1,100 linear feet east. It includes complete reconstruction of the roadway, installation of new sewers, and adding new storm system on Green Street between Woodland and Fillmore. Upgrades to the storm sewer system and replacement of the sanitary sewer mains. This area is in the Phase 8 Division 2 3D area, and that's one of the phases that will be several years out, probably 5 or 6. and will be designed to allow the sanitary to be connected in the future without removing any of the newly installed street pavement. During the design, a cross-country sewer was uncovered that will also need to be replaced. As part of the process, easement plats were developed for the existing cross-country sewer. For all of the documentation will be in place for future work. This project is scheduled to take 75 working days with a late start of July 5th. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on February 24th, 2021 at 2 p.m. And the bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented at the City Council meeting on March 2nd, 2021, or at a later date as determined by staff. The current engineer's opinion of probable cost is $928,883. Ottumwa Waterworks water main will be $179,812.50. Road use is $356, and then lost is the rest. As you can see, we did an insert of where this falls in the overall separation. It is up in the kind of the top end of the phase 8. We've divided that project into multiple phases just from funding and constructability. It's kind of changed over the last 3 years to figure out how we're going to get it built. What that allow, when you look at that insert on the upper right corner, when we run a new main sanitary in this phase, then we can actually just pick that up, connect the two, and then the sewer is out of that main box that currently is a CSO discharge. We've designed in the past several different projects like this, where when we're doing the street work, we design it to where in the future we have a little bit of sacrificial pipe or pavement, but we don't have to go in and do a bunch of rework. This is the same way. We did it on Williams and James, where it was about 5 or 6 years later, we come in and picked up approximately the same size of job. It was a $750,000. We did it on Maple, where we were able to come in later and just pick up and not have to do any street work, any of the cross, any of the intakes. Same thing happens here. So we're just moving the separation portion ahead of where we would be, but it allows us to do the street replacement and the sewer repair as needed now.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to address this item? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 27, 2021, approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Woodland Avenue reconstruction project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 27, 2021.
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you.
There was the view that I kind of wanted to point out. We're going to be bringing probably to a work session. We've worked through all of the numbers for each of these phases as we go up through here, and we're working on a new performa now to come to you, kind of like we did last time in, I think, 2007, to kind of give you a long range plan on what it takes to get through this phase.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Larry?
Oh, Larry, I was just wondering, I know that's another narrow street. Do you plan to do that in kind of phases for access, or is it one of those that's going to have to be all at the same time?
It'll be like a moving operation, but it is kind of scheduled as a one project. Both this and the next project that we'll discuss is going to be extremely hard for access because there's no alleys behind them. You guys are aware of the terrain in that area. I mean, it falls off both directions behind these homes. On the north side, we do have a platted right away, but it's not developed. It's just a paper alley, really. We'll have to work with them, and that's where we fine tune these plans is once we get a bid, once we work with the contractor, we start looking, we have our public input meetings, we get some citizen input of maybe if we move this 200 feet and we do the first 400 feet, that's where we work through and fine tune it because it's going to be very difficult on the next two projects.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 24, 2021, appointing paying agent, note registrar, and transfer agent, approving the paying agent and note registrar and transfer agent agreement and authorizing the execution of the agreement for $7,025,000 general obligation capital loan notes, Series 2021A. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 24, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Kayla.
Good evening. So this evening, I'll have 4 resolutions to finalize our bonding process for this year. And so on this one, on item 24, I'm going to go ahead and remind the public and you what this bond obligation is. So it's kind of lengthy for this first one. We have found and determined that the various general obligation loan notes authorized as described shall be combined for the purpose of issuance in a single issue of $7,025,000 general obligation capital loan. It has been sold, and action should now be taken to provide for the maintenance of records, registration of certificates, and payment of principal and interest in connection with the issuance of the notes. These funds will pay for costs of equipping the police and fire departments, the acquisition, restoration, or demolition of abandoned, dilapidated, or dangerous buildings, structures, or properties, the construction, reconstruction, and repairing of any street, bridge, and levee improvement, the acquisition, installation, and repair of sidewalks, storm sewers, sanitary sewers, water service lines, street lighting, and traffic control devices, including the acquisition of any real estate needed for any of the foregoing purposes and the removal or replacement of dead or diseased trees. The reconstruction, extension, and improvement of the airport, the rehabilitation and improvement of city parks, including facilities, equipment, and improvement commonly found in city parks, essential corporate purposes, and it is deemed necessary and advisable that the general obligation loan notes to the amount of not to exceed any aggregate amount of $9.5 million be authorized for said purpose. The city is also in need of funds to pay costing of funding projects necessary for the operation of the city or for the health and welfare of citizens, including funding for facade and roof grants, grant matches for economic development and other city projects, and the Healthy Neighbor Program, equipping the Parks Department and improvements and renovations to the Bridgeview Center, generate corporate purposes, and it is deemed necessary and advisable that the general obligation capital loan notes to the amount of and not to exceed $700,000 be authorized for these said purposes. Lastly, the city is in need of the funds to pay costs of the construction, reconstruction, enlargement and improvement and equipping of city hall, fire stations, police stations, and swimming pools and recreational areas, including the Ottumwa Beach, general corporate purposes, and it is deemed necessary and advisable that the general obligation loan notes to the amount of not to exceed $700,000 be authorized for these said purposes. So in conclusion, this bond covers a lot of capital improvements that we are planning to do for not only the current fiscal year, but the FY22 fiscal year.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful, you talk about the 7 million and then you talk about the aggregate amount of 9.5 million. That includes the other funds that you've mentioned in the last paragraph.
Right. Yep. The $700,000, the two $700,000 amounts are included in different taxable bonds from the non-taxable bonds. And so that's why they're separated out as to what they can cover and what they can't cover.
All right, any questions for Kayla?
I have one. Kayla, earlier tonight, we had that presentation that was really good, but a potential asking of $750. And then I should have asked you this in our work sessions and I didn't, but so you just mentioned grant matches. But I was curious, do we identify within this budget, within this amount of money, is there a limit of which we could work with matching grants?
Yeah, I mean, we did have an initial set under the administration budget of $60,000 that would have to go through the city administrator for approval. And we'll have a form available for those approval that can go through the city administrator and then be brought to council.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 25, 2021, approving and authorizing a form of loan agreement and authorizing and providing for the issuance and levying of a tax to pay the notes, 2021A. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 25, 2021.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second?
Thank you. Okay, Kayla, go ahead.
So again, the discussion on this resolution 25 is the same as resolution 24. This resolution you're approving for us to be able to use debt service and for us to allow us to use the taxes to pay for this.
Really, these are the legal forms to
Yes.
authorize and to be sure that and they've been reviewed by Allers and Cooney and.
If they're provided to us
Yep.
by our bonding attorney.
Any questions for Kayla? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you.
Resolution number 26, 2021, resolution to adopt a partnership to bring the Keith Haring Outdoor Fitness Court to Ottumwa, Iowa as part of the 2021 National Fitness Campaign. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 26, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Okay. So, excuse me, the resolution before you, actually, Edward, if you want to bring up thank you. Got a couple of pictures, diagrams, give a little bit of background to any council members that have not had the privilege of being aware and the public at home and in the studio audience here. So the Ottumwa Area Arts Council was identified, and the Keith Haring grant. Let me start over here. So the National Fitness Council is kicking off a campaign to bring 10 different communities a Keith Haring Fitness Court. Keith Haring is an artist, I believe, out of New York, and fitness courts aren't anything new, so to speak. You can see in the diagram behind you here, it's a platform about, I think it's 38 by 38 feet in square. It's set on a concrete platform so that the structures can be, adhered to that. And then there's a covering on top of that, so it's a little bit more comfortable as far as working out on it. There are, I believe, 7 different zones that they're identifying there, and they have a variety of workout opportunities. You can work out a full body workout in this one site. Your core, push exercises, pull exercises, legs, all of that can be done here. And one of the nice things that the company that we partner with helps with the fundraising aspect, the construction, and then promotion of the site. We're looking at having this available for any kind of exercise classes, or people can go there on their own. There'll be an app that would be able to download onto their phone and kind of work them through a session. And they're looking at actually us working with a couple of different languages to hit on that. You can just go to the next slide there too. Is that? It's what? Oh, delay? Okay. So this slide here shows a little bit of the materials. So you get the concrete on the base, and then the flooring and material, and then a number of structures that would be applied to that. When we go to the second, the artwork. So the difference here, aside from just being a fitness court, which many communities have, is the Keith Haring artwork. And there are, you can just slide through these. There's just a couple different variations here. So there are 10 communities that will receive licenses to be able to display this artwork on the actual fitness structure itself. And being one of only 10 communities would create a draw to this, this region, this area as well, for something to see in addition to being able to get a good workout. We're looking at the possibility of a site near the trailhead or Sycamore Park along the river there. And I think that would be a really great opportunity. It's one of the things that draws people on a quality of life aspect. Working into the trail structure, having the outdoor facility as well. The city of Ottumwa and Ottumwa Arts Area Council was solicited by this organization because of the things that we've been doing, working with the arts, new development, our park system, and really focusing on diversity of the community. So it wasn't something that I think, not to pick on Holly, but being a representative of the Area Arts Council, you'd say after the last Main Street art, they were probably looking to take a break, and this just kind of fell in their lap, and really a great opportunity, which we then were awarded as one of the top 10 communities in the nation that had applied. So I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add, Holly.
I would just say, the company's out of San Francisco and work nationally. There's only one fitness court in Iowa, which is in Clinton. And that's the only one. So it's kind of exciting to bring that in. And I think it really fits into what we have in our comprehensive plan. And the Arts Council would be taking the lead on fundraising, looking at outside funding sources, not tapping into funding sources that other groups are using in town right now for projects. And if we were for some reason not to fundraise the full amount, we're not under any obligation to move forward. Essentially, the agreement is that we're moving forward with trying to fundraise, but say we don't fundraise that amount, then we don't do it. So, and it's first come, first serve on designs on who fundraises first.
So if I may, Holly, when this presentation came to the Park Advisory Group, and I think Administrator Rath hit on it earlier, it's national. They will try to do some national recruitment of funding.
Yes, so we're looking, and I talked to Kim Helligy and Parks Board representatives to tell them some of the list. We're looking at state and national. I don't want to, say out loud in case we don't get funding from this, but we're not looking at local businesses for this funding. We're looking at, since it's such a state or nationally known project, we're hoping to pull from outside dollars.
Thank you.
And that will be our goal or our starting point.
Yes, and if the council will recognize in the resolution itself, it identifies the Ottumwa Area Arts Council operating on behalf of the city of Ottumwa. And so they're taking the lead on this. It was a matter of not saying the city is going to be funding this, but definitely supporting it in kind with, the positivity and making sure that we can do everything we can to see this happen and place it in, the right spot and, really express the good faith efforts there.
Okay, any other questions for either Phil or Holly? Okay, hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Abstain.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 28, 2021, approving change order number 3 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the East Main Jefferson Divine Reconstruction Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 28, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Okay, go ahead, Larry.
Mayor. Change order 3 decreases the total contract amount by $42,908.23. The following changes are included in change order 3. These are the major items. Additional pavement at the tie-ins, less flooded backfill required to fill vaults, a reduction in the stamped concrete. On that item, we actually had removed the stamped concrete. It's about 475 feet in length on the north side. I would be starting at the east side of the hillside apartments down to Vine. Since there's no buildings built on those multiple lots, we didn't think at this time we ought to put that type of capital in. So we can always put that in later. Additional driveway concrete and decreased in as-built quantities overall. You'd have to look at the spreadsheet. Iowa Civil Contracting, Inc. of Victor, Iowa has completed the above reference work according to the plans and specifications, and this will authorize approval of change order 3 with the final payment releasing all retainage. All forms on East Main Street project, including pay apps and change orders, are processed now through the DOT Doc Express website. Change order 5 has been combined on the attached city change order form. The new contract amount is $2,783,000 or at $767.50. I messed that up. So this finalizes that project. And that would be Main Street, Jeff, out to Vine. One of the things that's included is a multi-use sidewalk because that did have 8 foot wide. That sidewalk and corridor will continue with the Phase 8 Division 1 and will continue from Vine all the way to Iowa Avenue.
Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you, Larry.
Resolution number 29, 2021, award the contract for the Marion Street Reconstruction Project to Drish Construction of Fairfield, Iowa, in the amount of $735,723. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 29, 2021.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
This project involves full width, full depth PCC reconstruction of Marion Street from 4th Street to North Court. This project includes replacing the existing sanitary sewer and adding storm sewer to separate the combined system. This is another one that'll recombine at the bottom and in a future project be able to be separated at a later date. Marion Street has suffered extensive damage from water main breaks, and we're currently working on a cost share amount with Ottumwa Water and Hydro, and we'll finalize before the start of construction. Ottumwa Water has installed a new water main from 4th Street to North Court. And of course, ADA handicap ramps will be installed and sidewalk will be replaced where required to allow paving. The project is expected to commence by April 1st, 2021 and shall be completed by 60 working days. This project includes 2 phases to allow better home access during construction. Very similar to my last explanation, once we have a contractor on board, we'll get them involved with the citizens and we'll look. As it stands right now, Phase 1 is 4th Street to 5th Street. Which is about 450 feet. Phase 2 is 5th to North Court, and it does add a lot of challenges. If you're familiar with that area, there are some alleys on the west side. You do have timber kind of on the east side, but limited access in stretches of homes up to like 10 homes. So we'll be working with the area residents like we always do, not only with trash collection, but access. Bid tab and plan holders list, they are attached. Let me miss a section here. We received and opened by the city of Ottumwa on January 27, 2021 at 2 p.m. The project was advertised on the city of Ottumwa Master Builders site and Iowa websites. 4 bids were received. The low bidder is Drish Construction of Fairfield, Iowa, in the amount of $735,723.
Any questions for Larry? It's long overdue in my estimation, and I'm glad to see you get it started as soon as we can get in there. It's great. No questions, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 30, 2021, award the contract for the Water Pollution Control Facility Effluent Diffuser Project to J.F. Brennan Company Incorporated of La Crosse, Wisconsin, and the amount of $77,250. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 30, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
Our IDNR discharge permit limits are tied to the efficient operation and directly impacts the available wastewater plant loadings. New duct bills are scheduled to arrive this week. The new valves have a 1-year warranty, but based on past performance of the original valves, we expect they could last 20 to 25 years. The diffuser is shared with JBS, and they have agreed to pay 1/3 of the maintenance and installation cost. The percent is based on average flow and loading from their plant compared to the total plant flows and loadings. This project is expected to begin March, April. We have had an update on that. The contractor plans on coming in February and has completion date of June 30th if the site is workable. This project is unique and has been set up to allow flexibility due to the river flow and the depth control in the work site. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on January 27th, 2021 at 2 p.m. The project was advertised on the City of Ottumwa's site and Master Builders of Iowa websites. 2 bids were received. The low bidder is JF Burnham Company, Inc. of La Crosse, Wisconsin, in the amount of $77,250. The bid tab and plan holders list, they are attached. You can see the bids and what we had budgeted. This will be funded from the sewer fund.
Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 31, 2021, appointing paying agent, note registrar, and transfer agent, approving the paying agent and note registrar and transfer agent agreement, and authorizing the execution of the agreement for $1,395,000 taxable general obligation refunding capital loan notes, Series 2021B. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 31, 2021.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening again. Kayla, you have the floor.
Thank you. This is the last bonding for the year. This one is for the $1.395 million taxable general obligation refunding capital loan note series 2021B. It has been sold and action should now be taken to provide for the maintenance of records, registration of the certificates, and payment of principal and interest in connection with the issuance of the notes. The city is in need of funds to pay the cost of refinancing and refunding certain outstanding indebtedness of the city, including the taxable general obligation bond series 2011 dated October 19th, 2011. Essential corporate purposes, and it is deemed necessary to and advisable that taxable general obligation refunding capital loan notes to the aggregate amount of not to exceed $9.5 million when combined with other projects be authorized for said purposes. So with this one and the $7 million, we're at $8,420,000 for our bonding for this year.
Any questions for Kayla? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 32, 2021, approving and authorizing a form of loan agreement and authorizing and providing for the issuance and levying a tax to pay the notes, approval of the continuing disclosure certificate for $1,395,000 taxable general obligation refunding capital loan notes, Series 2021B. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 32, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Kayla.
And again, this is for the $1.395 million, and it's for the approving and authorizing of the issuance, and we can use the tax levy to pay, the debt tax levy to pay.
Any questions for Kayla? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Had a lot of money tonight. Okay, we'll jump down to J, public forum. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to address an item not on the agenda, and we have one, John Scholes, talk about rental inspections. So come up to the microphone and we'll give you time to make some comments.
Hello, good evening tonight. We're having concerns with rental inspections and the people coming into the people's houses so soon. It sits and revolves around tons of stuff. People that we're talking to that rents from us, we've questioned them on whether they want people in their houses yet. We're getting a solid no. The older people are extremely concerned about it. I could have brought plenty of landlords with me that I've talked to about it. I think there's been some that's talked to Mayor Lazio. Our concern's very heavy on this yet, whether we're jumping the gun and getting into it. It isn't that I care whether they have the inspection part, but it's coming into the people's houses. We're dodging so many bullets from people not wanting to pay rent because they don't have to right at the moment. There's nothing we can do about it to evict them. So far, all of our rents are due on the 1st. I've had 10 people I've kept track of this month with us, and we deal with about 400 rentals that said they have COVID-19 and can't come in until probably the 15th is what they're telling us. How many of them we're going to have that won't pay rent is another story too. I'm dealing with about 10 people out of ours right now that's not paying rent because they don't have to. The funds that was out there to help with the ones that wasn't paying rent in our area has diminished. We're worried about if one inspector goes into one place, they don't know they have COVID, grasping onto it, and then we've got a whole apartment complex to be inspected. Are they going to drag that clear through the whole apartment complex? Probably 75% of our rentals are people that work at JBS. So are we going to get it into JBS and have the problems with JBS? JBS, has a ton of the income for this community. You've seen what some of the other food plants went through where it's got into it. Everybody we're talking to is saying the same thing. If we have to do something different as the units come open, have them come in and inspect it, I don't have a problem with it. We'll work with them on it real well. I don't know how many other landlords would, but if we could come to some kind of solution on this would be great. I would rather have them stop it until they get more of it under control.
Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate your comments. Yeah.
Your Honor, may I ask a question? Is our staff doing this now, Kevin?
Yes, we are inspecting again. We've been matching the protocol of City Hall. So when City Hall would go into what I personally call a COVID protocol, then so would we on an inspection level. I would say that I thank John for his comments. They're well put and well received, and I do understand his concerns, and I think they are real.
So why are we doing it?
Can I just maybe have a point of order?
Certainly.
This is something that wasn't officially on the agenda, and if we want to have a conversation, which I think is due, perhaps we direct it to a future agenda to have that conversation. That way, if there are other people in the public that wanted to weigh in on this, they'd have that opportunity as well.
That certainly is reasonable. I think my recommendation is going to be that we refer this to our administrator and that we do, because we've had a number of phone calls from other landlords about this issue, and I know our staff has also been checking with other communities to see what they're doing. And so I think it should be on the next agenda so we could have some kind of a intelligent and thoughtful discussion about this. So
Your Honor, I would recommend that we do that speedily because this is an issue of time importance. I'm with Skip. I know we shouldn't be talking about this, but I totally disagree with going into people's homes this time.
Just because the mayor did mention it, Your Honor, I would say that other communities are also doing inspecting. I think it was Burlington. I have a list of those and I could bring that to our next meeting. Of course, I don't want to belabor tonight, but I think Burlington had started about 2 months ago. So they were a little bit ahead of us. All the other governments on our list are doing inspections though as well.
I think the important issue is that we follow our protocol, though, that we certainly have public input and then we refer it to staff and give our staff a chance to give some information to the entire council so that we're all equally informed and able to make an intelligent decision. Because if we decide we're going to stop doing something or change the procedure, we want the entire council to be on board. So.
True. And the only other thing I would say is just to let the public know in council as well that right now we are approximately 650 units in arrears, given the time that we have stopped in the past 6 months. So we're not really as far back as even I kind of imagined before I found out the exact number. I figured we were a little further behind because, of course, we stay around 200 to 300 behind, just due to our capacity.
Okay, so we'll make sure that this is a discussion item on our agenda and have a recommendation from city staff.
Can I interrupt? Is there any way, this seems to be a matter of safety of some sort, both from our staffing and from the tenants. Is there any way that we could do some sort of a special session or something? I think that it would be not good diligence on our part to wait it out 2 weeks.
Well, you could always call for a special meeting.
One question too, would you want somebody in your house? Remember that.
Well, I think if you're interested in having a special session and that be the only topic, we could certainly arrange that. And make the landlords aware of that too.
I personally don't think we should wait 2 weeks. Look what could happen within a 2-week period. This was brought to, just a comment, this was brought to my attention a couple of weeks ago, and that's the last I heard of it. I didn't know it was still going. But like others have stated, we want to protect our staff as well as the citizens.
Sure.
So
okay, I think we'll set up a special session then to do just this topic and give plenty of notice to you folks so you can come and give us some other comments, and we'll also have time for the staff to pull some stats and get their information together.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other item that should come up tonight? That's okay. The only other thing I would share then, moving on to K for petitions communication, we are moving ahead with a meeting for the hotel at Bridgeview, and we have a number of investors who are willing to visit with Cobblestone, so that will be held next week. And if you know of somebody who would like to invest, and this is again the request, a serious investor who's likely to spend their money, we'd certainly like to hear from you. So council, if you know of anybody that you think should be contacted, let me know, or let Phil know, and we'll follow up on it. But at this point, the city will back out, and it'll be up to Cobblestone to direct the meeting for the investment. Is there anything else for good of the city? Any other business? Department heads, anybody? Hearing none, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you and good night, and thank you, Christine, for being available to us.
You're welcome. Good evening.
Good evening.
The movie, she fell asleep.